The media is reporting that Joe Biden may drop out of the presidential race in a matter of days or even hours, and that Democrats would replace him with Vice President Kamala Harris. They think she may be a better candidate in November. But coming up, let me tell you the dirty secrets about Kamala Harris, about her epic failures and corruption here in the state of California that no one is aware of. Coming up, we're going to air all of her dirty laundry so that you know and you can spread the word. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and we are literally getting leaks and anonymous sources stepping forward saying that the Democrats realize that Joe Biden's presidential campaign is in complete freefall. That the fact that these Democrat insiders have hid his true condition from the American people, that he's a bumbling idiot. He has failed on the issues, but he's also so frail that he cannot actually do the job anymore. That's all coming out to light. And these insiders, who I believe have plotted this all along, these insiders want to dump him from the presidential ticket and replace him with perhaps Kamala Harris, the vice president. I still submit to you that the preferred candidate of the insiders is California Governor Gavin Newsom. We've laid out that case in a previous podcast, and I'm going to have more to say on that in the coming days. But let's for a moment just suppose that Kamala Harris is the Democrat choice for November for president. They think that she's going to be stronger than Biden. I would argue that she is at least just as weak, if not worse, than Joe Biden. And that's because I know about Kamala Harris. I have actually squared off against her. I have had to go up against her time and time again because she came from California. She's a California Democrat politician that never got properly vetted here in the state of California and got promoted then to a national stage. And people now realize what a complete incompetent idiot she is, how she's in over her head. She's not suited to any job, not even vice president. And remember, the vice president's job is exclusively to check the pulse of the president in the morning to make sure that he's still alive. She's obviously not been doing a good job of that with Joe Biden. But here's the breaking stories that we're hearing now. Kamala Harris holds emergency call with Democrat donors. I believe that this is not only true that she's having these calls, but it's part of the drip, 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 the drumbeat that the Democrat power brokers, who really call the shots in the Democrat Party, not the voters, it's the power brokers, the insiders, the billionaires. They're just beating the drum to put pressure on Biden. I can imagine that Joe Biden's not very happy with Kamala Harris doing this phone call with donors. I'm sure she'll tell him, oh, don't worry. I'm just trying to reassure your donors that you're just fine. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Look, Kamala Harris seems to be in a good position if they do dump Joe Biden to become the nominee. Not the best position, but a good position for three basic reasons. Number one, she's on the ticket and can spend the money, the estimated $90 million that the Biden presidential campaign has raised. Other candidates would not be able to spend that money very easily, although money can be transferred in politics and whatnot. Number two, she would be snubbed if they leapfrogged her for a white woman, or my theory is the preferred candidate is Gavin Newsom, a white man. So she has the identity politics going for her. And third, she is the preferred candidate of Barack Obama. Oh, yeah. She was the preferred candidate of Barack Obama way back in 2020. But she, of course, flamed out spectacularly, crashed and burned because she's completely inept. She cannot actually be a good candidate for office. But Barack Obama and his team, they think that they can control her. That all you need is someone who can give a speech, and you can basically control them and pull the strings from behind the curtain. And they're probably right about that, because look what they did with Joe Biden for so many years that he's been a vegetable. Anyway, so those are the three reasons why Harris is in a good position, not the best position in my book. But let's suppose that she becomes the nominee. Democrats think that she's going to be better than Biden. No. First, you and I both see with our own eyes, we hear with our own ears, the fact that she cannot even put together a coherent sentence. You thought Joe Biden's babbling was bad? Kamala Harris absolutely can give him a run for his money. She offers up nothing but word salad, and it's legendary. She just babbles and incoherent sentences. It's embarrassing. But of course, the media will say what a strong candidate she is, how articulate she is. She's going to be the first woman president, and of course, they're going to claim that the reason why she's been AWOL as a vice president, the reason why she hasn't had anything given to her in terms of real responsibility, was that the Joe Biden White House snubbed her and isolated her, and now it's her time to shine. The liberal media will absolutely gaslight America for Kamala Harris's benefit, the same way they gaslit America on Joe Biden's ailing health. But we've got the receipts. Remember, Joe Biden did give her a portfolio. She was the border czar. Here's this March 24, 2021 story. This is about a month or two after they took office, 2 months after they took office. Biden taps Vice President Harris to lead response to border challenges. How's that working out? Yeah, an absolute epic disaster. This is going to come back to haunt her. The one and only responsibility that Biden did give her was to make sure that our border could be secure, and look what happened. And there's old footage of Harris flying down to Central America and giving speeches on the border, claiming that the reason why these people were coming to the United States was not seeking a job, but that they were really persecuted refugees. They are political refugees that warrant asylum because of the anti-gay laws in Central America. Seriously, we have her on tape saying that. I don't have to play it for you. So basically, all these illegal immigrants were coming across the border, military-aged men from Syria. And she was claiming that they were all apparently gays that were fleeing persecution. I mean, seriously, that's how insane she is. Many Democrats have asked me over the past several years about Kamala Harris. They're like, what the hell? Like, where did she come from, Carl? I know that you're in California, you're plugged into politics. Like, what happened? And I said, you know what happened? California's liberal media happened. No Democrat politician in California is given real scrutiny. So when Kamala Harris started her journey in politics, it wasn't like she was given any sort of vetting by San Francisco media when she ran for district attorney and served as district attorney for San Francisco. More on that in just a moment. When she ran for California Attorney General and served as Attorney General. When she ran for U.S. Senate in 2016 and served as the U.S. Senator for 4 years. No media outlet held her accountable or shined a light on her. Asked why she hasn't accomplished anything, why she has failed so much. The reason why? Because they carry the water for Democrat politicians in California. Now that she's at the national level, her deficiencies are quite apparent. So where did Harris come from? Very similar to Gavin Newsom, nothing has ever been earned by her. She's always been handed it. She started out as a romantic interest of Willie Brown. And, I'll be very blunt about this. When people say, oh, she's a woman, she's accomplished so much. She's not a role model that I want any young girl out there using. Her story is not earning it. Her story has been anointed positions. Willie Brown set her up for so many entrees because of her relationship, her romantic relationship with Willie Brown. No one's willing to say that. I'm willing to say it because it's the truth, for God's sakes. And, it's quite apparent. So she gets installed as the district attorney in San Francisco. And she is completely, light on crime. Uh, we know that because during the election, she backed a bail fund during the Black Lives Matter riots to get the rioters out without any sort of bail, to cover the bail. Well, in the case of one incarcerated rioter, Sean Michael Tillman, who was a repeat offender, by the way, he came out with the financial support of Kamala Harris, the Minnesota Freedom Fund that she raised money for, and shot and killed a victim just a matter of a few months later. So we have blood on the hands of Kamala Harris. The national media barely touched this story, let her off scot-free, but we won't. And she has a pattern of coddling criminals. As district attorney, here's the crime map for San Francisco crime rate. And she was elected in 2004. And if you notice, 2004, boom, massive spike in crime under her watch. Meanwhile, even in California, crime was going down. That's the dotted orange line. And then nationally, crime was going down, the dotted green line. But in San Francisco, during her time when crime was going down, even in California and nationwide, crime spiked under her watch. Why? Because she didn't prosecute criminals. She coddled criminals. She is the GOAT, GOAT, the greatest of all time. You know that phrase, greatest of all time? She is the GOAT Soros prosecutor. She was a George Soros prosecutor before there were George Soros prosecutors. George Soros modeled his whole coddle the criminal district attorney campaign model after Kamala Harris. He's like, oh, wow, look at who we have in San Francisco. I want one of them. I want one of the Kamala Harris, protect your criminal prosecutors, district attorneys in every region of the country. She has blood on her hands. The crime spree started under her watch. Of course, let's take a look at who she goes after. She goes after churches. She goes after churches trying to prosecute them, but simply because they have a difference of political opinion with her. And this is a pattern of behavior where Kamala Harris has weaponized law enforcement, not against criminals. She's weaponized law enforcement against her political opponents. In the case of faith-based pregnancy centers who are trying to encourage girls not to have an abortion and lay out all the options, adoption, foster care, all the options of supporting these girls. She wanted to take the California FACT Act, which requires in the state of California, this is a bill she supported when she was Attorney General. She wanted to introduce this nationwide and proposed it nationwide to require religious pregnancy centers to post signs advocating for low cost or free abortions. The Supreme Court struck down this law and said that it is unconstitutional and it infringes upon both religious freedom and freedom of speech by compelling speech by churches, by forcing them to advocate for abortion, which is on the face of it, a first-year law student would agree is unconstitutional. She doesn't care. She is proposing unconstitutional bills at every turn. She doesn't care about our Constitution. Let's also take a look at her weaponizing her office against political opponents. She went after the Americans for Prosperity donors. These are conservative donors who gave to a group called Americans for Prosperity, which is a free market think tank that criticized Kamala Harris and her liberal friends in California. Well, she wanted to find out who's donating to support this 501c3? Who's donating to support Americans for Prosperity? Well, why do you want to know their names? No other liberal organization reveals their donors. There's always been a anonymous or confidentiality that's agreement given to donors of nonprofit groups. She didn't pick on liberal groups. No, she picked on her political opponents, people who disagree with her politically, to harass them, to bully them, to intimidate them, to try to basically threaten donors into not participating in the democratic process. Well, the Supreme Court, once again, ruled that she broke the law. She doesn't care about your constitutional freedoms. She will try to weaponize your government against you. She's done it before as Attorney General in California. She'll do it again as president if we give her that opportunity. Finally, let's take a look at Ballotpedia. I've had to deal with this because what Kamala Harris did to me and our pension reform coalition in 2014 and in 2012. As Attorney General, she lied to voters by putting out false and misleading ballot titles. Now, this is something that we've been dealing with in California that has been a cancer on our democracy, has weakened our elections, has resulted in voter fraud. Yes, I said it, voter fraud. Kamala Harris, by lying to voters on the ballot with false and misleading ballot titles, created this horrible practice that other Democrat politicians at the state and local level here in California have now expanded and proliferated to lie to voters by hiding bad ballot measures behind good ballot titles. And so she invented this dirty trick. She was the first that did it. And she did it with our pension reform initiative. And the headline in the San Diego Union Tribune editorial, Kamala Harris's dirty trick on California. The editorial board of Contra Costa Times said Dan Pellissier, president of California Pension Reform, presented the ballot initiatives to Harris, called the summaries ugly, partisan, and manipulative. He's absolutely right. When Contra Costa Times in the Bay Area, a liberal paper, editorializes against you, you know you done dirty. And Kamala Harris is no friend of democracy. She is an opponent of democracy. She's been what's wrong with the attack on our democracy. And she pioneered some really dirty tricks that weakened the integrity of our elections out here in California. Look, I could go on and on about how Kamala Harris, there's no daylight between her and the failed policies of Joe Biden of open borders, high inflation, a less secure America. She's the same thing as Joe Biden on policy, but she's worse. She's much worse. She's much worse because she has demonstrated a level of protecting criminals and a willingness to weaponize law enforcement against her political opponents in a way that Joe Biden hasn't even gotten near. Look, at Reform California, I have fought against Kamala Harris for 15 years. When I was running for mayor in San Diego in 2012, Kamala Harris started putting out rumors that her office was going to investigate me. We had done nothing wrong. We were confident of that. But she put rumors out that somehow she might be looking into criminal misdoings or bad behavior. Again, this is the smear tactics of a corrupt politician. She's not only inept, she's corrupt. And she's wrong on the issues. Look, if she is made the nominee, I plan to beat the drum loudly on her failings. And I ask you to join me in spreading the word. There's a couple things you can do. First, like this video, share it with your friends. Spread the word about how she's not just this goofy, word salad speaking vice president. She is an absolute danger to our country in terms of what she believes in and her fraudulent and failed and corrupt record in California. Second, please go to the website reformcalifornia.org. Help us do the work that we are doing in shining a light on Kamala Harris's failed policies and record. Because I believe that if she becomes a nominee, we have a duty at Reform California to warn the nation on her record and her corruption. Chip in a contribution at reformcalifornia.org right now to help us do that. We plan to make sure that we get our Oppo file of research against her out to media outlets across the country so that people are warned about the danger of voting for her. Look, I don't know what's going to happen with the insiders in the Democrat Party. They don't care about voters, so they are probably going to get rid of Biden. But I do know that no matter who they replace Biden with, that we need to hold them accountable for their failures and their corruption, whether it's Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris. And I think those are the two top leading candidates at this moment. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.